So starting the test drive in this Challenger Jailbreak, it just sounds so good. It sounds absolutely incredible. It's really the only way to describe it. And plenty of space in here from the driver's seat. I'm 6'3", excuse me. And even with the sunroof, I still have about an inch or two of headroom, so that's not a big issue for me driving this thing. And what's great about this car is even driving it in the sport mode here, just in stop and go traffic, light traffic, I guess, it's still not difficult to drive. I don't feel like the car is getting away from me. It's easy to drive normally. And I say that because not all cars of this nature allow you to do that. Now, of course, it's still a heavy vehicle, as Challengers tend to be, but it doesn't really show it when you put your foot into this thing. And it's always ready to go. And it's always trying to get away from you too, so keep that in mind, as in most supercharged vehicles, but especially things of Hellcat nature, with these supercharged V8s that they throw in here, Chrysler does. These things are so tail happy. You don't ever really have full traction, especially coming out of a slowdown or a stop there and you gun it. But that's what makes them so much fun to drive. Now, you do have the ability to use launch control, but it's just not practical where I am. Now, if you're racing or something like that, it's definitely helpful to have if you're on the track or whatever, but I mean, what's fun is just how quick this thing is. Like, wow. And I can just feel, I haven't even opened her up yet. I'm gonna give it a little bit. I'm not gonna give it full throttle, but I'm gonna give it some getting on the interstate here. Just so we can hear it. But here we go. Woo! God dog. My gosh. Now, the traction control system in this Jailbreak is a lot more impressive than I was expecting. So even as I was just pulling, I could feel the tires loose, but the rear end did not get away from me at all. So I'm extremely impressed by that. I mean, gosh. And it just wants to redline. That's all it wants to do, especially in sport mode. It wants to go. And my gosh, that was incredible. Wow. And what's great is even in sport mode, I'm gonna put it into the auto mode here. But I mean, even in sport mode, when you're not giving it throttle, it's pretty tame. You just have that light hum of 797 horsepower going through this exhaust. But other than that, I mean, it's so laid back, and that's what makes this such a good option in my opinion. I mean, it's stupid fast, but if you just want to drive it around as a daily, that shouldn't be a big deal. But I would just, oh my gosh, I would just want to keep my foot in this thing at all times. It's just so much fun to drive, so much fun. So for the rest of the test drive, I'm just gonna keep this thing in eco mode because I feel like we kind of got the point in terms of just how much fun this car is, how fast it is, just how great the performance is. But I wanna go over everything else while I still have time. So ride quality is stiff. Of course, that's what you can expect from a vehicle like this. Not necessarily uncomfortable, but the way the seats are bolstered up and things of that nature, my wider stature, it's hard to fit in there, so I probably wouldn't be leaning back like this while I was driving. I kind of have this seat setting for the camera view more so as opposed to the my overall comfort. And this thing is $154,950, so it's not cheap. It is a Challenger, but I mean, it's a Jailbreak last call, so keep that in mind as well, with less than 60 miles when I'm done with it. And another great thing about this car is it does have 800 horsepower, but just driving in the eco mode, this is probably where I drive this thing most of the time, just because it's just good. It's a good city driving mode. It's not doing too much, but it's also not limiting the car too much, if that makes sense. Like, obviously you have 800 horsepower in your sport mode, but I mean, your eco mode is not gonna have anything. It's not gonna take it down to 100 horsepower or something like that. So it's easier to drive in this mode. It's more fuel efficient. It's not as loud. And of course you can set up your custom mode and do what you want. There's so many ways to configure this, but I just like this car because you can daily drive this, whether you want to keep your foot to the floor or if you want to drive in eco mode and just stunt, and then if you want to race somebody, you're ready to do that, or take it to the track, it's ready to go. So just a great option in terms of an everyday sports car, super sports car, let me put it that way. It's about an exotic. And though this isn't a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, I do feel like if you were gonna spend 200 grand on a muscle car, I would just go ahead and get this, because this is gonna be pretty much way faster. It's gonna sound just as good, especially supercharged, but I'm also new school as well. So it's just, especially if you're into muscle cars and you are new school like myself, millennial, you definitely will not be disappointed in this 2023 Dodge Challenger Hellcat Redeye Jailbreak.